Well, we made it through week one. We almost got a winner, but Wreck-It Ricky, he beat us fair and square. Congrats to Stenhouse. Great race. We're talking Daytona 500. We're talking NASCAR. We're talking Auto Club 400 with Brandon. Brandon, how you doing today, my man?
Doing good. Still recovering from that 500. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. My DraftKings with like 50 laps to go. My lineup was phenomenal. Then that wreck, a lot of roller coasters. Glad Logano didn't pull it off. I really didn't want to see him win the championship, win a duel, and then turn around and win the 500. So kudos to Ricky. The man deserves it.
So my first question to you is that there was this comment made by one of the announcers, and I don't know which one said it. And it was toward the end, right before the wreck happened. And they said that they were commenting how Keselowski and Buescher, how well they're running. And the comment was, the guy didn't think if it became down to Keselowski and Buescher, that Buescher was going to win. He was going to let Brad win. Did you catch that comment?
I caught the comment because they say that in that comment, he said, will he dare pass his boss? Because don't forget, Brad Keselowski is partial owner. But, I mean, it's a Daytona 500. I think you have a good opportunity of passing your boss. Don't wreck your boss. But it's a Daytona 500. You don't get this opportunity often, if at all, to be able to win it. But if they didn't separate their bumpers the way they were pushing each other, nobody was going to get around those two, no matter what they tried.
Now, you made the comment, watch the manufacturers. Obviously, I sent you the video that Stenhouse posted to TikTok, probably the best video ever. But him being able to use Larson to get past Logano kind of helped him. Am I crazy to think that Larson was actually in a good position and could have won that if he wasn't involved in that wreck?
Larson was, but the second he got stuck in that middle, there's no coming back. And I hated it for Pastrana. His first ever 500, he could have easily got a top 5, and he got pushed in the corner by Eric Almirola, which is frustrating to see Almirola do that. I know you're the last lap, going to do what you can, but you can't push in these corners without turning the car at a super speedway. So I would have loved to see it drag down the back stretch and see what would have happened. But, Larson had a great opportunity. He's going to have another great opportunity this week at Auto Club. He'll be in the mix for sure. Multiple lines, low, medium, high, middle, high. He runs the high line. I'm going to be talking here in a minute about some guys that love the high line, and it should be a good race. But Daytona 500 was definitely eventful. Our picks were there, then they weren't there with the big one that we talk about every year. It's a shit show. You're going to have the wreck. Just hope your guys out of it. So it's fun to watch.
What was the one driver that stood out for the wrong reasons? You thought he could have ran better. You were a little disappointed when you saw from him.
I want to immediately say any of Blaney. Blaney is running well. He got caught up in that wreck, but I thought for sure that man was going to be put in the front, stay in the front, and be one of the Fords with his teammate Logano that just stayed 1-2 for a while, just like Brad and Buescher did. But he never stayed there consistently. He was up and down, and I think that's one of the reasons he got caught in the wreck. But hats off for me on the flip side. Hats off to Kyle Busch. The man started in the back, went to the front, won a lap down, was 33rd, and back to the front, and had an opportunity to win that race if the caution didn't come out.
Yeah.
And, of course, Kyle Busch himself, we come here every year to turn this many laps and then wreck. I should have known better. We always wreck. So having some entertainment out of him was fun to watch at the end.
Now, we got the Auto Club 400 2-mile intermediate track. Last running of this one, I believe.
Yes.
Now, a real interesting track. I have 4 bets I like, but I wanted to ask you about this head-to-head one. I always kind of fade the Daytona 500 winner.
Yeah.
Dinger over Stenhouse.
Yeah.
What do you think? You like that one?
Yeah, I like it. Stenhouse is in the playoffs. He won a race. JDR is not going to win races. That team's not. It's not going to happen. It's like LaJoie being up front. It's not going to happen. So I told you before the Daytona 500, Colleague Racing is going to make a splash this year, like Trackhouse did last year. So I'm taking the Dinger all day over Stenhouse.
So I like that one. That's gonna be an official play. Dinger over Stenhouse in my head-to-head matchup for the week. What is your first bet and why?
I'm going with my boy Chase Elliott, coming off a real shitty Daytona 500. The man ran really well last year, was going to take the lead last year until Larson, his own teammate, put him in the wall for absolutely no reason. What he's done at the 2 mile tracks with this new car, I like to see. So I see him sitting at 12-1, which you want to grab before qualifying. I think he's got a really bad taste in his mouth from the 500 and a really bad taste with what happened last year at Auto Club and it being the last race they will have at Auto Club. I definitely see him running up front and being competitive at the end. So number 9 it is.
Number 9, okay. My first one, going with the aforementioned Kyle Busch at 11-1. 3 top 3s in his last 9 starts at this track. And he's in Reddick's car, which led 90 laps last season. 5th best average finish of active drivers at this track. 12th best active finish on intermediate track, 2 mile intermediate tracks. So I'm just looking at the analytical stuff here with his historical finishes. Reddick's car. I'm going to take Mr. Kyle Busch. I'm sorry, I said 11-1. It was actually at 10-1.
That's fine. I mean, that's not a bad pick. He is in the car from last year that ran really well. He's looking to make a statement at some point. You switch teams towards the end of your career. If you want your legacy not to start dropping off, you got to perform. And I think he's, once again, going to be competitive week in and week out like he has been for years. And I can't not side with you with the car. We'll see if he can run that high line, the same line that car ran last year, and be competitive. But when do you ever get a chance to grab Kyle Busch at 10-1 or higher?
I mean, you got Kyle Busch at 10-1. You know, it's worth a gamble. Like you said, he looked good at Daytona. It wasn't like he ran a bad race. He looked good.
No, and that's the thing coming into this week. It's always fun to grab the guys that look competitive and are going to have a bad taste in their mouth and want to rebound. It's the same thing I'm doing with Kyle Busch is what you're doing, or with Elliott that you're doing with Kyle. So I like that pick. I'm going to go the opposite way with the man that he replaced and go with Tyler Reddick at 12-1. He's not in the same car, but he loves the high line. And that's where this track, if you can run the wall, you're going to be competitive. And that's all this man does. He did it on Bristol dirt. Like anywhere he goes, he's running that top line if it's available. He led 90 laps last time here. Loves the track. I can't steer away from him. He just signed a huge contract with Monster Energy. And Kurt Busch announced it in person that Kurt's still going to be around and a part of Monster. But they are now sponsoring Tyler Reddick. So what a better way to sign that sponsorship on Tuesday and then turn around and come in on Sunday with a victory at a track that you dominated last year but didn't get the win.
I like it. I like it a lot. My next one, going to the uncle himself, Uncle Kev, 22-1. This is going to blow your mind, okay?
The stats you're about to read, I just want to say this real quick. The stats you're about to read is because he's old as dirt.
No, since 2020. This is since 2020 with him. I shrunk it down. I shrunk it down.
All right.
Since 2020, 3 wins on a 2 mile intermediate track. Best average finish of anybody since 2020 on a 2 mile intermediate track. 6th best finish at this track. 6th best average finish. I'm getting odds. He looked okay last go around. You know, the thing about him is we can disagree about how good of a driver he is now, and people can vary on that. But when you look at historically, he's one of the best drivers ever. right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And to be that good, you have to be a competitive mother effer. And he doesn't want to go out like certain drivers have in the past and not get a win.
Yeah.
If he's in a position to get a win, he's going to get a win. He's performed good at these tracks. I think he's worth a gamble here, and I'm getting 22-1 on him. I have to lock that bad boy in.
Oh, I can't. I joke with you about it being Uncle Kev, but to your point, if it gets down to the end of the race and he's got to move somebody to get in victory lane, there's one guy out there right now that's going to do it, and it's going to be him. He doesn't want to go out like Jimmy did and consistently start fading year after year after year. Harvick will make the playoffs, so he has to get a win. And what better way to cap it off in the second race of the year and be sitting in a playoff spot?
Yeah.
My third one, I may have a fourth. My third one is going to be my long shot. Austin Cindric at 60-1, some sites 66-1. A Penske car. If you look at last week, including himself, all Penske's ran very well. Fords ran very well. We talked about it. We read the article that some drivers are saying Ford has better aero this year than the Toyota and Chevys. What are we at? A 2-mile track. The draft is going to be involved. So I'm going right back to the Penske team and grabbing the number 2 at 60-1 odds. No track record, no top fives at 2-mile, nothing. I'm going based off of what we read with aero, what we saw between the Penske team at Daytona, and him at 60-1 odds going into a 2-mile track.
I like that. I like that play a lot.
Yeah.
My next one, and I'm taking a little bit of a gamble here. There are some people on social media saying he's a big fade this week, but I'm a back Truex at 13-1.
Yeah.
I thought he looked good at Daytona. He did win the Coliseum race. Most drivers are going to carry that momentum over like Logano did last year. Won this race in 2018. Granted, that's when he was in the old 77, but his running style does work here because he has one here. Intermediate tracks, 5th best finish of active drivers at the 2-mile tracks. So he's ran good at the track, the 2-mile intermediate, the momentum. When do we see 13-1 on Truex? You know what I mean? It's like you have to take it here.
You don't, and I will back that with you as my fourth pick. I think Truex is going to have a phenomenal year. I don't know, and I want to say this in the most respectable way. So him and his longtime girlfriend have split. She had been, and I believe still is, battling cancer. There's a lot of stuff amongst their relationship for years with her health that they were great together. They split. I think you're going to see a little bit of a different Truex with his mind being clearer. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Like I think you're going to see him more dialed in without everything going on with an up and down relationship, health issues, stuff like that involved on a weekly basis. So I think you're going to see the man with a lot clearer mindset going into these races.
How long ago did they split?
It was in the off season.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in the off season.
I was going to say if this was like yesterday, you know what I mean? Then they've been together so long, it's going to be in his mind. But I mean, there's been enough time to digest and everything. And yeah.
And again, I'm looking at it from a mental standpoint in the car. Nothing else outside of that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I do like that pick.
Do you have any more?
No, that's all I got.
I got Blaney, last one, 12-1. Look, winless last year, obviously due for a win. Has 2020 started 6th. 2020 started 16th, led 54 laps. 2019 started 10th, finished 5th. He has won at 2-mile intermediate tracks before at Detroit. So I'm just looking at this, and how can I word this bluntly? I use shot quality when I bet basketball. And basically what it is it's like, okay, Jason Tatum shoots X from 3-point land. So let's say hypothetically Tatum shoots whatever, like 38%. The last 7 games, that's dipped down to 12%. So what does that mean? It means he's due for a good game where it's going to get back to the norm.
Yeah.
And vice versa, if someone's going really good, if he's shooting 70%, he's due for an 0 for 10 night from 3 to come back to the norm.
Yeah.
I use that a lot. This guy, when you just look at what he's doing and how consistent he is finishing toward the top and what he's done in the past, this guy, just per regression, is due for a win. And I want to get this where I see 10-1 or higher, and I'm seeing 12-1 on one book. So I'm taking Blaney 12-1.
I'll side with you on that bet 100%. I told you before the Daytona 500, that's my pick for the championship. So the man's going to be up front every single week unless a wreck's involved. Just like last week, he was up there, wreck, onto this week. So grabbing him at those odds, can't argue with that at all.
I love it. I love it. So my head-to-head is Dinger over Stenhouse, Blaney 12-1, Truex 13-1, Harvick 22-1, and Kyle Busch 10-1. What are you working with, my friend?
Elliott 12-1, Reddick 12-1, Austin Cindric long shot 60-1, and I'm going to roll with that Truex bet with you at 14-1.
All right, let's get it. Let's make some money, my friend. Hopefully, we can cash some tickets. Brandon, why don't you tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, my friend?
Boston Boy 83, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, all the above. And I know Celtics are still rolling, Bees are still rolling. Looking really good right now. Knock on wood.
You enjoy that, buddy. And then we'll get our fight when Milwaukee beats them in the playoffs.
We got to go to a playoff game.
Until next week, my friend.
See you guys. Cash some tickets.